Infiniti's working on a potential savior for the brand. And before we get into details of this new electrified crossover that could save them from destruction, we need to paint a picture of how bad Infiniti's current status is. Their current compact crossover, the QX50 and QX55, is ending production by the end of this year, but last time I heard, they stopped allocating models for the United States due to tariffs since it's made in Mexico. And ironically, there's a Mercedes-Benz built alongside of that QX50, which is called the GLB. But Mercedes-Benz is just like, hey, we're going to start producing the GLC stateside so we can kind of figure this thing out. And then you have Nissan and Infiniti just saying, we're just going to roll without a compact crossover. And we killed all of our sedans. They have no Skyline-based Q50 or Q60s anymore. They are killing off their QX50 and QX55. They just nerfed the QX60. They took the VQ 3.5 liter V6 out of the QX60, and they're saying, hey, that's okay. We're just gonna, have a new coupe crossover based off the QX60 called the QX65. Well, that's not coming till potentially over a year from now, mid-2026. They have the new QX80, which is a really good vehicle. It's solid, is very competitive for this segment. So, they only have one competitive vehicle in this segment. And I just reviewed the QX50 recently, and I'm like, guys, don't even watch it. The vehicle's it was a waste of my time to review it. It's a waste of time for Infiniti to keep making that vehicle because it's just so old, outdated, uncompetitive, and at least you can lease it for peanuts. It's not worth your time. It compounds for the dealers. If the dealers don't have a new car to sell that is competitive, then they're gonna have to deal on it, and more than they want to. They're gonna have to reduce prices. All right, and if you're not selling at the volume you're used to, you're not gonna have the service revenue. So the dealers are bleeding out with Infiniti, even more so than Nissan. And I'm driving the Nissan Frontier. Check out my review on the Frontier. I love this truck. Sales for Infiniti have dropped 42% in the last 5 years. I think they peaked around 2017. And so, you keep going back from 2017, 2018, they've just been in free fall, and they'll never be able to recoup that volume that they lost because the entire landscape has shifted. All right, to electrified vehicles, not so much EVs. However, Infiniti says, hey, we have a fully battery electric vehicle coming. I think it's 2026, maybe it's 2027. No one cares. No one cares unless it has solid state batteries and is better than every other luxury EV out there, and I highly doubt it will be. All right, so what is Infiniti going to do? They're going to gussy up the new Nissan Rogue. And the new 4th generation Rogue is going to have hybrids, and it is potentially going to have plug-in hybrids with their new I think it's the 3rd generation e-Power. That is going to be better for our market, more power, better highway fuel economy, better efficiency, all that stuff, and very competitive against Toyota, Hyundai, and Honda hybrids. All right, but we still have to wait. We'll first see that on the Rogue in 2027. First half of 2027, and this vehicle, codenamed the i33C, this Infiniti vehicle, they're slating it for late 2027, so it would be after the Rogue comes out. And so if you have a platform mate that is the Rogue, and the Rogue offers 95% of the same quality and materials, Nissan's like, the thing is, we got to figure out to make it worth $10,000 more. They're like, well, we got to have a nicer interior on it so it doesn't get confused with, the Rogue. It's got to be more upscale looking. And in fact, sources are saying this Rogue-based Infiniti electrified compact crossover to replace the QX50, they're saying it's going to look a lot different than the QX50, the QX80 that's currently on sale, a lot different than the new QX65 even. All right, so if it looks incredible, that's the thing. Infiniti and Nissan's designs has never been their weak spot. They always have beautiful cars, in my opinion. All right, and the interior has to be on Genesis's level if Infiniti wants a shot at surviving. All right, but here's the thing. Infiniti hasn't greenlit this project. They're still studying it. And Nissan's probably, you know, juggling the idea of like, well, shoot, if Infiniti doesn't make it as a brand, then we've spent all this money developing this Rogue based, you know, electrified crossover. But the thing is, they're not wasting that much money if it's, you know, if its roots are the Rogue, right? But they still haven't greenlit it, which is insanity to me. So they're just going to roll around for the next few years, all 2025, all 2026, most of 2027, without a hybrid, all right, nor a compact crossover, which, you know, that's the second biggest market in the luxury segment, the midsize crossover being the biggest, all right? And so they're just like, hey, you know, we're just going to wait it out and see if it's even worth us bringing it to the market by the end of 2027. I mean, that's true. If they don't bring it to the market, Infiniti is dead. If they do bring it to the market, it doesn't mean Infiniti is saved. It means they just have a better shot at surviving. If it doesn't come at all, I think Infiniti is dead in the water. What do you guys think? This is the vehicle that needs to be currently on sale, and it's not. All right, this will just get it competitive with the Lexus NX and RX in many ways with their hybrids and their ever-improving hybrids, their plug-in hybrids. We'll have next-gen plug-in hybrids probably for Lexus by the time this Infiniti i33C gets, you know, it sees the light of day in the hands of customers. All right, but, you know, where's Honda, where's Acura with their, you know, more premium hybrids? They just don't exist either. So, you know, in the meantime, you know, Hyundai and Genesis, they're not waiting. Genesis saying, hey, we're going to come out at the new hybrid powertrain, rear-wheel drive biased, and that will be coming out, I think in 2026, end of 2026, if I remember correctly. I'll fact check myself there. Now, there's a couple things I'm also worried about if they bring it to the market. I've been hearing that Infiniti, well, more specifically Nissan, is not going to be building their hybrids in the United States, but that was before the tariffs. That was also what they thought about shipping all Rogue production, which this vehicle is going to be based off the next gen Rogue, right? They thought about shipping all Rogue production back to Japan because it's cheaper to make them there and ship them over here. Well, then the tariffs happened. They're like, okay, well, we're going to have to, well, actually use our Smyrna, Tennessee plant to build more Rogues, around 160,000 a year. And if they're working 3 shifts instead of just 2 shifts, it gets more efficient. And then maybe if they're able to build this, you know, electrified Infiniti there as well in Smyrna, Tennessee, then that's, you know, everyone wins, at least on the North American side. However, I'm hearing that Nissan's not going to be building and sourcing their hybrids in the United States. They're all supposed to be, or at least pre-tariff, they were expected to all be built in good old Japan for their hybrids. They were not planning to build a hybrid and plug-in hybrid supply chain in the United States. And if they don't do that, they're dead, right? Infiniti is dead, but also Nissan could be dead if they don't make, they would just make like what, the VC Turbo and CVT Rogues, which is just a trash car. It's just a pure rental or lease for peanuts sort of vehicle. The Rogue, a 3-cylinder turbo. It's not terrible, but like there's so many other vehicles I'd pick over it for the same price. So you just have to lease it for pennies on the dollar essentially. And this hybrid could fix all of that because no one wants the Jatco CVTs in a Nissan. No one wants really a CVT in any vehicle that costs a significant amount of money, let alone in a luxury vehicle. And that's one of the big reasons the QX50 is just withered on the vine. It's a beautiful SUV, but like how amazing it would be if that vehicle had this transmission. I know it's front wheel drive, but if it had a regular 9-speed transmission and a V6 that we have in the Pathfinder, it would be selling better. I'll see you guys in the comments. I really felt like ranting about this today, that Infiniti has not greenlit this Rogue-based hybrid compact crossover. Look, the NX is the same platform as the RAV4, all right? However, they look completely different on the inside and outside, and they ride quite a bit different as well, all right? So if Infiniti can give this i33C vehicle the Lexus treatment with the upgrades it would get, the looks it would get. I guess Infiniti's it's never about looks. They always nail the looks. It doesn't matter. It hasn't helped their brand that much. But they need a Genesis-like interior. They need to separate it from the Rogue as much as possible, which is not going to be easy to do because Nissan needs the Rogue to be successful more than Infiniti. Like, Infiniti doesn't need to exist anymore, right? It's not really helping Nissan's numbers. It's just siphoning money away from Nissan, and Nissan's already in survival mode. All right, so if Nissan's pouring everything they can into this, hybridized Rogue, how much more can they pour into the Infiniti to make it separate? Or, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, they're just so strapped for resources. And if they're just throwing the whole basket already at the Rogue so they can survive as a company, is the Infiniti really going to be worth the $10K asking price over? I don't know. Can they pull it off? I don't have my hopes up, but only time will tell. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more news. Hopefully I'll have some good news for Infiniti, but really, besides the QX65, and even then, that's going to have more than likely a 2-liter VC turbo, which makes it an instant non-buy, and maybe a lease if you can get a crazy deal on the lease. I don't know, guys. I gotta shut it down. It's just frustrating. I don't think I started this video very upset, but the more I think about it, the more it's like Infiniti ain't got a clue. Nissan ain't got a clue. I wish them the best. I want the Infiniti to survive. I want Nissan to survive. I do not like the auto start stop feature in here, but they're just not doing enough, all right, in the near term to change their current, I guess, forecast. So thanks for watching. Long live Infiniti, and maybe they'll live long enough to see a rebirth in the brand with competitive electrified crossovers. I mean, sedans are all but dead. They already scrapped the EV sedan that's coming for Nissan and Infiniti that was supposed to be built in Canton, Mississippi. I don't know. Maybe you guys have the answers that could help Nissan. I surely don't. Thank you guys. Rest in peace. The QX50 essentially, and hopefully this vehicle can come in time to save them from their own demise. Peace out.